Hello everyone, it's Charlton, and there's some pretty shocking video here of some prison guards taking a prisoner into custody who's resisting to some extent. But obviously, I'm showing it to you because it just went way too far. It involved mostly this individual here, primarily, but also. And this is all the way back in, I think, April of 2016. I'm not absolutely, but it's a 2016 video, but it was just made public on Monday. Not sure why that is. After after an internal investigation, I don't know why it took so long to get to this point. In fact, the sheriff who was present during the press conference, who's that right there, Sheriff Bob Fletcher, he wasn't even the sheriff at the time. And then Tyrone Terrell, who's the president of the African American Leadership Council there, as well as I know the mayor of St. Paul that I even mentioned, that it's in Ramsey County, which is the county that includes St. Paul, Minnesota, which I believe is the capital of Minnesota. I don't think it's one of the Twin Cities. It's not that Minneapolis, not Minneapolis. So here's the video. I'll just show you a couple portions of it. It's really long. It's like 13 because they show it in its entirety from the time they pull him out of the cruiser, where he lays on the ground, and that's just where it begins. They go to put him in this chair, which is supposed to be this mobility chair, which actually is not meant for somebody who's resisting, but that's what they use it for in this case, and I think it had become a fairly common practice at this jail. I'm not absolutely sure of that, but this is the individual in question. His name, and he was later charged. I think there was an assault charge. He eventually pled guilty to a disorderly charge, I believe, and but he remained on like paid leave for the bulk of the investigation. In fact, it says right here he was on administrative leave for 2 years and was paid $121,000 during the time. He's since, once the investigation was over, they were moving towards termination, but he resigned before he was in fact terminated. I think he was a wrestling coach too, which he also stepped down from. And just throughout the entire video, it's just way too much, man, and way too much. And it's just bad, man. It's just bad. So, but the other thing is what authorities were calling into question is why nobody stepped forward and just intervened and said, you know what, why don't you let me handle this, or I got this. There's two St. Paul, Minnesota, St. Paul police officers, as well as 4 jail officials, whatever. I'm not sure what they're called. I forget. Here's the video. I'll just play just a couple portions to give you an idea of it. If you want, you can go watch the entire thing. It'll be linked in the description.
You ain't seen excessive force, you followed. Okay, shut me the fuck up. Stop with the excessive force, you bitch ass police. Show me excessive. Hold the head down. Yeah. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I'm sorry. Stop fighting. I will. Stop fighting. They will stop using force against you. It's all your response. Please. Not fighting. Here's my... Down? Yeah. Get a restraint transfer, release Delta. You can't get any tighter. Okay. Keep control of the head of the block. Okay. That one's over here. Where'd it go? So much go through. God will let me die. God will not let me die. I feel like I'm finna die, but God will not let me die. God love his brother. After the beginning, God created earth.
Dude, it's so bad, man. And you know what? That's not even body cam. That's actually somebody filming it. That is the policy. They've been filming these operations so that so that they make sure there's not too much force used. Which yeah, it's really awful. So the story is fairly long. I don't want to go through this entire thing. If other officials, elected officials, and community leaders decried the 2016 video made public Monday, which shows correctional officers punching and using other force on the inmate while employees stood by. Ramsey County Board Chairman Jim McDonough called the racial dynamics alarming of a white officer acting upon a black male with a group of predominantly white officers present. Tyrone Terrell, African American Leadership Council president, said the treatment of Terrell Johnson, that's the prisoner, was a tragedy, but we're also committed to making sure that it never happens again. Ramsey County Sheriff Bob Fletcher, who wasn't in office at the time of the incident, joined Terrell at the news conference Tuesday, say they are ushering in new changes. The sheriff's office instituted a new policy on Monday that requires a duty to intervene anytime a staff member observes excessive use of force. Fletcher said he will start a civilian ombudsman program in the jail and see that internal affairs investigations are more timely. Because again, this began back in 2016 and it's just coming to a close now. So the April 13, 2016 incident was captured on video by a sergeant who was recording. They've been video taping at Ramsey County Jail for years to ensure only the necessary amount of force is used when responding to an uncooperative detainee, Fletcher said. That's the sheriff. And the sergeant, I think a lot of the blame is being placed on him as to why the sergeant, who's basically the correctional officer who's in charge, didn't step forward and say, and take over and relieve that person, the person who was submitting all the force, the person Travis Van de Weel, who was later charged with disorderly, I think. I'll go straight to that. Equally disturbing is the fact that no one else in the video, whether it was the 6 correctional officers or the 2 police officers, were willing to step forward and put a hand on Mr. Van de Weel and say, "Hold on, I've got it from here," and intervene in that cycle, Fletcher said. St. Paul police officers, however, were concerned with what they witnessed. So somebody actually did. That's how, fortunately, at least somebody, one of the 2 police officers, I believe, from St. Paul, a police department, said something. That's how this came to light, and said that this was not right. I guess St. Paul police officers, however, were concerned with what they witnessed, and they notified a police department supervisor who alerted sheriff's office leadership, according to the St. Paul police spokesman. Jail staff indicated in written statements that they were uncomfortable, but they thought it was the sergeant's job and someone else's job to intervene, Fletcher said. Prosecutors charged Van de Weel in February of 2017 after the April 2016 case at the jail where Johnson was brought after his arrest for theft. So the prisoner was arrested for theft. So after his case, is that it? Prosecutors charged Van de Weel in February of 2017 after an April 2016 case at the jail where Johnson was brought after his arrest for theft. After Van de Weel pushed on Johnson's head and Johnson complained of excessive force, Van de Weel responded, "You ain't seen excessive force yet," and punched the restrained man 4 times in his abdomen and chest area. County Commissioner discussed the case at the regular Tuesday board meeting. We gravely regret what has happened, the danger that was caused, and the danger, of course, that has been caused to the fabric of the trust that we need between our community. A criminal investigation into Van de Weel 46 was launched at the end of April 2016. He pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct charge in January 2018. An assault charge was dropped. After the court case concluded, the sheriff's office conducted an internal affairs investigation. They were moving to terminate Vanderweel, who remained on paid leave, a jail employee since 2014. He began an appeal process in October, but submitted his resignation last week. He also resigned Tuesday as co-head coach of wrestling at East Ridge High School in Woodbury. He was a coach at the school since November 2015 and was paid $5,453 for this season. All right, well that's that's the story there, man. It's pretty shocking. And that's it, man. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.